So here we are at our staff development session, and we're looking at how Barnstaple, Bideford and Westward Ho have changed since Kirsty, Sam and Paul remember them.
How do you know about Brian Falls?
Okay, we've got these in note form now, and just very briefly, if each person talks them through. Kirsty, could you start? Yeah.
Right back in 1998, the bus station used to be outside the Saw building. There was a road, there was road access, the traffic could pass through here. That moved, I think, 2000. The new bus station was built up in Queen Street.
Yeah, I like the fact that you've got down there Barnstaple in bloom.
Yeah, that's missing now. I remember that from
lots of flowers, decorating, lots of colour in Barnstaple, which was really nice.
They don't do that anymore.
No, but in Bideford I think you do, Sam. But do you think you have a Barnstaple in bloom?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tesco there. What's that?
Well, there's a second Tesco being built now, a Tesco's Extra, in addition to the other Tesco that's here, and also Brian Ford's, which was a huge discount retailer, sort of factory outlet shop, almost has closed down across
the local family.
Seven Brethren.
Yeah,
And then the last one that you've got there at the bottom.
Barnstaple Square has completely changed. It's been remodelled. Traffic used to be able to pass round a roundabout system. Whereas now it's one way and it's all pedestrianised in the middle.
All pedestrianised, yeah? Okay.
And now it's a circle.
Sam, could you give us a brief summary of yours?
Yes, well, I started off by saying that there's no cinema now. When I was a child, until I was in my early 20s even, I think there was the Strand Cinema. And it's opposite the garage, which is just before Morrison's now. That's where it was, and now there are new houses there. I think they're for elderly people, privately owned, but I think they're sort of for elderly people. And I've also mentioned the convent school, and I didn't also mention Grenville College. Both have now gone, and on their sites new houses have been built, and I think that's one of the biggest changes, that there are many, many more new houses, and presumably that's because many people are now moving down to Devon and places like Bideford. Shops, there were no charity shops, I can't remember any when I was a child. We just had jumble sales really. Obviously in some towns they had Oxfams and things, but that's a more recent thing.
You got Atlantic Village there.
Atlantic Village, that's fairly recent, an out of town shopping centre. There are more chain stores. I mean, you've got New Look in Bideford, but sort of almost conversely, you've got more select little shops as well, but they're much more expensive than the kind of older family-run businesses that there used to be in Bideford. Supermarkets, the first one was actually, I think it was Presto, which now is Morrison's. That was in the 80s. And also I've written down the rediscovery of Sir Richard Grenville. Right. There's a group that's been, has rediscovered him and want him to be a sort of central figure in the area now. And also there are fewer working ships arriving in Bideford. When I was a child, you often had really, really big ships, and all of them were there for a purpose.
Great. Really. So Paul, how about Westward Ho?
Well, the biggest change in Westward Ho in the last 20 years has been the architectural panorama. They've torn down lots of lovely old Victorian houses, including 2 or 3 hotels. And they were lovely buildings, and instead of restoring them, they've just torn them down and they've put up blocks of flats. 1 or 2 of the blocks of flats are okay as far as their colour is concerned, but most of them are just glaringly horrible and out of keeping with the general environment. The bus services are a lot better. They're more expensive, but they are much, much better. You used to be able to get into Bideford for about 10p, but you had to wait about 3 hours for the bus to come up. What have I put there? I can't read that. No. I have to look at my original.
Newsagent, is it?
More
tourists.
Well, okay, let's go on to the newsagent. There's now no newsagents, and the newsagents was a great social focal point. There are a lot more tourists now in the summer. This is something I've noticed, particularly over the past 4 or 5 years, maybe. Oh, there's no bank. That's what that says. They took the bank away. We're now unfortunate enough to have a Tesco. Is it called a mini store? Or Tesco Express. One of those horrible little. That opened earlier this year and it's not very successful. But the old village shop that used to be called the Garden of Eden has now been taken over by Nisa. Once again, a social focal point has gone, because they used to have, for example, a photocopying service, which the new people have just taken away. In general, the streets are cleaner, and the roads are in slightly better nick.
The old charm is lost.
The old charm of Westward Ho.
The old charm has gone,
unfortunately.
Okay. Now, when we look at these three, what things can you find in common?
Change.
Okay, yeah, but what exactly? Specifically?
Being torn down. Like
Things have been torn down.
Houses, or things that have moved.
Things have moved, things have been torn down. What specific things?
Well, the way shops have changed and developed and...
Supermarkets.
Supermarkets. I mean, the shopping is a big thing, isn't it? Yeah?
It must be something around the fact that Barnstaple, Bideford and Westward Ho are very tourist destinations. So there must be something that the powers that be, the councils, see that tourism has a special requirement.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's actually really the truth.
No.
I don't know
Well,
if people come down here for a supermarket Tesco's. I think people come down here to see places like Clovelly or cute little quirky shops that they wouldn't necessarily see. I don't know.
But the supermarkets are just going to take advantage of it while it's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they're targeting tourism, but at the same time, does it?
Well, if they're targeting tourism, quite often what they do just isn't working, because what people were saying about the flats in Westward Ho, the blocks of flats that they put up, half of them, I'm sure, are unsold, and they've been there for a long time. And also things like Tesco, there was a huge protest in Westward Ho this time last year against the Tesco opening. But now that it's been there for about 5 or 6 months, it doesn't actually seem to have had that much impact on because everybody was very worried about the impact it would have on trade in the village. I mean, for example, we have a tiny delicatessen that only sells very local produce and produce from Cornwall, and that's hanging on by obviously by the skin of its teeth.
Right.
But nothing actually seems to have happened to it.
Okay, let's try and look at it from an aspect. What of these things up here would you describe as negative changes?
Construction. General.
Well, careless construction.
And also
An insensitivity towards what they're putting up.
Right.
And, in Bideford, thinking about the convent school and Grenville, their playing fields now are housing estates. So those green spaces, those spaces for children to do important sports and, very important socially as well, they were gone. And
they've just closed the tennis club in Westward Ho.
And what about positive changes? Are any, Kirsty? Anything that you put up? Would you describe any of those things as positive?
I suppose the new bypass is positive in the idea that it's supposed to take the traffic away from the town. I think it's a positive step forward, but it's not working fully.
Right.
The whole sort of rerouting of the traffic idea doesn't really quite pan out when it comes to Barnstaple. It's taking some of the traffic away, but there are still sort of bottleneck points in it. I think actually it's creating bottleneck points.
And how about the pedestrianisation? Do you think?
The pedestrianisation is fantastic from a safety perspective, because you can walk around, and when you actually approach the town, if you're coming in from the Rock Park side, and when you approach the square, it actually looks a lot more beautiful because it's all paved over and you've got the benches, and it looks sort of quite a community place, whereas before you were just hitting traffic head on in the busyness. So I suppose the fact that they've separated that up is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But the one-way system can be a bit...
And the park and ride, isn't it? The park and ride, introduction of park and ride, just outside. And that's being used quite a lot. Environmental impact, more awareness on the cycle path, the cycle route. A lot more people are cycling. There is a cycle path now running along the river, along the Tor Vale there in Barnstaple. So, yeah.
Great.
Based on songs and stories, heroes of renown, of passing tales and glories, that once was Dublin town. The hallowed halls and houses, haunting children's rhymes, that once was Dublin city in the rare old time. Oh, the years have made me bitter, the gargles tempt me brain, for Dublin keeps on changing and nothing seems the same. The pillar and the Met have gone, the royal long since pulled down, as the grey unyielding concrete makes the city of my town. Very well, sweet Anna Liffey, I can no longer stay and watch the new glass cages spring up along the quay. My mind's too full of memories, too old to hear new chimes. I'm part of what was Dublin in the rare old times. Last night, come on, please. Ring a bell.